Russian President Vladimir Putin has apologized to his Azerbaijani counterpart Ilham Aliyev over the tragic incident in the Russian airspace involving Azerbaijan Airlines plane that crashed in Kazakhstan on December 25. The Kremlin said Putin called Aliyev on Saturday, December 28. In a statement posted on its website, the Kremlin stated that as the Azerbaijani plane attempted to land in Russia's Grozny city, Russian air defense forces repelled the Ukrainian drone attacks on Russia. At this time, Grozny, Mozdok and Vladikavkaz were attacked by Ukrainian combat unmanned aerial vehicles, and Russian air defense systems repelled these attacks, the statement reads. However, there was no comment in the statement about Russian air defense systems hitting the plane. Azerbaijan Airlines passenger plane flying from Baku to Grozny crashed in Kazakhstan's Aktau city on December 25 after it was denied landing in Grozny and another two Russian cities of Makhachkala and Mineralny Vody. 29 of the 67 passengers on board survived the crash. The survivors reported hearing explosions outside of the plane, and video footage from the crash site showed traces of shrapnel in the cabinet and fuselage, suggesting that the plane had been struck.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is trying to cover up the shooting down of an Azerbaijani passenger plane by Russian air defense forces in every way possible. It is even alleged that he begs President of Kazakhstan for this. Recall a passenger plane operated by Azerbaijan Airlines, which crashed in Kazakhstan on December the 25th, was reportedly downed by a Russian Pantsir S air defense system, Reuters reported, citing anonymous sources familiar with the matter. 4 sources in Azerbaijan, privy to preliminary findings of the crash investigation, stated that the plane was indeed hit by Russian air defenses. One source said that initial results indicate the aircraft was struck by the Russian Pantsir S missile and gun system, and its communications were disrupted by electronic warfare systems as it approached the city of Grozny in Russia's Republic of Chechnya. Reserve Colonel of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Roman Svitan, also says that based on the damage the plane sustained, it was attacked by an anti-aircraft missile system similar to the Pantsir. According to him, air defense forces have recently been redeployed to the North Caucasus. It is impossible for them, especially at the time of deployment, to quickly establish communication with civilian air traffic control mechanisms. This led to the disaster. The plane that took off from Baku was supposed to land in Grozny, but was mistaken for a drone flying over military areas. They tried to shoot it down, but the plane is still big. The missile explosion most likely occurred far from the plane itself. It flew into a cloud of shrapnel, striking elements, the expert added. Roman Svitan says to Charter 97 media outlet that any commission can very easily determine which missile and which complexes striking elements damaged this plane in the air. The striking elements in civilian aircraft, for the most part, remain in the seats forever. Even if it fell, crashed, burned, sank, all this is easy to determine. I think that everything will be revealed in the near future, no matter how Putin tries to beg Tokayev to hide this fact. I think everything will come out, he added. According to him, the series of uncoordinated actions of the dispatchers are also notable. Instead of landing this plane at a nearby airfield, they hijacked it to Kazakhstan. If they had started landing it right away, there would have been no catastrophe. The plane would have landed. Not a single person would have died. When the missile hit, most likely, the hydraulic control system pipelines of the plane were broken. While the fluid was in the hydraulic accumulators, the plane was still more or less controllable. It could have landed, and after the fluid left the system, the plane lost control and crashed. To sum it up, it's about 90% probability that the plane was hit by a missile, he says. Oleg Belousov, the host of the Channel 24 YouTube channel, also analyzed the situation with the crashed Azal plane. He noted that the passenger plane was shot down by Russian air defense forces, in particular the strange reaction of Russian President Vladimir Putin to the tragic incident, as well as the confession of the nephew of the Chechen leader. In fact, what does Putin want to hide? What happened with the plane? Putin will hysterically ask Tokayev for help in covering up this crime. But there is one nuance. A lot of photos and videos have been published on the internet, he said.
A tightly scripted meeting of the Russia-dominated economic alliance of several ex-Soviet nations briefly went awry Thursday when two leaders engaged in bickering during a live broadcast of the event. Russian President Vladimir Putin and other heads of states attended the meeting of the Eurasian Economic Union, which includes Russia, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, who has increasingly sought to phase down his country's ties with Moscow and forge closer relations with the West, joined the meeting via video link after cancelling his trip following a positive test for COVID-19. The carefully choreographed session at a resort near St. Petersburg veered off script when Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, whose country was taking the rotating chairmanship in the economic grouping from Armenia, urged Pashinyan to visit Belarus for the union's next meeting. Pashinyan responded that he plans to attend the Belarus meeting via video call, after which Lukashenko pressed for an explanation and even offered to send a plane to fly the Armenian delegation to the Belarusian capital. Pashinyan then pointed to his earlier decision to freeze high-level visits to Belarus over Lukashenko's support for Armenia's rival, Azerbaijan. "I don't think this is the right format for discussing these issues," Pashinyan added. But Lukashenko kept arguing and Pashinyan snapped back. Putin, who sat next to Lukashenko, and other leaders watched the altercation in stony silence. The Eurasian Economic Union was formed a decade ago to encourage stronger business ties and facilitate trade between its members, but it has been marred by economic and other disputes between members.
Как это предусмотрено уставными документами? Примерно 29 мая будущего года. Ориентировочный.
Хочу уточнить, что вот мы не возражаем против проведения заседания Высшего экономического совета ЕС в Минске, но я хочу заранее сказать, что наша делегация примет участие в заседании в режиме видеоконференции. Спасибо.
А что за проблема? Что у вас за проблема? Далеко до Минска или некому вас подвезти? Но мы организуем доставку вашей делегации, если нужно.
Александр Григорьевич, я по этому поводу выступил с публичным заявлением, и это заявление остается в силе. Я не думаю, что это правильный формат, чтобы обсудить эти вопросы. Просто вы сказали, затронули вопрос, я должен был сразу среагировать, что не было никаких недопониманий.
Ну, мы рассмотрим ваше заявление.
А что тут рассмотреть? Вы не можете рассмотреть мое заявление, потому что мое заявление это не подлежит к рассмотрению.
Да, мы только его... Мы рассмотрим, может, телевизора не будет, чтобы вы дистанционно выступали.
Нет проблем. Предлагаю перейти к процедуре подписания. Я понимаю, что, может, у вас появились еще и проблемы с телевизорами. Я понимаю, отношусь к этому.